Good morning, Kasturians, and welcome to this video on chapter Education and British Rule, in which we will study how the Britishers they brought about changes, in fact phenomenal changes in the education system, and made the Indian people civilized natives. So let's start our chapter. When British people they started conquering the territories and started controlling the resources of the territories, they were having problems in administering these territories. The problem arose because the Britishers they thought, being traders, they thought it will be expensive if they appoint the British officers to do the clerical work. So for this purpose, they thought कि if we train the Indians to perform the clerical work, they will assist us in the administrative matters, and it will be easy to handle these Indian people, and it will be less expensive for us. So that's why when they were going on with their conquests, they were having another mission in their mind, and this mission was to civilize the natives. That is, the natives here refer to the Indians. So the Britishers they thought the Indians they were not civilized. Why they were not civilized? They were wearing the clothes like Britishers do. They were having their own customs and their own religious beliefs, but according to the Britishers, since the Indians they were not well versed with the languages which the Britishers knew, that is English especially. So due to that lack of that knowledge of English, the Britishers they thought that the Indians they were uncivilized. So they decided to civilize these Indians, and this mission was the one which they were having in their mind, and they were inculcating in their mind along with conquesting the carrying on with the conquests of the Indian territories. The Britishers they believed that the people of India were uncivilized, and it was the duty of them, that is the Britishers, to civilize these people. And that's why the main theme or ideology on education it revolved around this. In the pre-British time or before the arrival of British, the Indian system of education was flexible. The students they used to study in Pathshala or Madrasa, in which only a few students were taught by the teacher, and the students they were selected by the teachers themselves. It was not the case that everyone can go and have a basic knowledge with their teacher. It was up to the teacher whom he is going to taught, and it was up to the teacher how he is going to taught, and it was up to the teacher or Guruji what they are going to teach. There was no fixed curriculum or no textbook available. It was totally up to the teacher, and there were no prescribed textbooks. So the teaching was imparted orally, generally at the house of the teacher. Whatever the teacher deemed best for the students, only that was taught by the teacher, and the most popular subjects were Sanskrit, Persian and mathematics. There was no such bifurcation or different branches of study like science and geography. They were not taught, and there was no system of examinations. So the teachers they were having a lot of freedom, quite unlike the system which is prevalent today. That doesn't mean the teachers they are not having lot of freedom. They are still free. Now, it was Sir William Jones who arrived as a linguist in Calcutta in 1783. A linguist is a person who is well versed in more than one languages, who has the knowledge, basic knowledge to study the foreign languages. So as a linguist, during his stay in India, Sir William Jones he developed an interest towards the Sanskrit language, and he translated various Indian texts on different subjects, and this is What he believed, why he did so, he believed that it will serve two purposes. What were they? First, it would help the Britishers to know about the Indian culture, and it will be helpful for the Indians to understand their own history and rediscover their lost heritage. So, along with other people, Sir William Jones, he set up the Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1784 with a strong argument that the learning should be promoted in India, and that to Indian learning. He wanted the British administrative government to set up institutions where ancient Indian texts could be taught, and Sanskrit and Persian were to be the medium of instruction for teaching all this. It was Warren Hastings who was serving as Governor General, so he was also a supporter of the Orientalist view. Means the Orientalists, they were against the ideology and the reforms to be brought about in the field of education by the early people. So the Governor General Warren Hastings, since he was Orientalist in his view, so he set up a madrasa in Calcutta to promote the study of Islamic law, and in 1792 it was Jonathan Duncan who set up the Banaras Sanskrit College at Banaras to encourage the study of ancient Sanskrit texts. But these Orientalistic ideas, they were always questioned by the Anglicists, and these Anglicists included the Britishers who were having disagreement with the Orientalists regarding the learning process. They believed that Indian learning was unscientific and often supported superstitions. And one such Anglicist was James Mill, who believed that the Indians, they should be imparted Western learning, as the Western learning is more practical and the Indian education was impractical. He was later on supported by Lord Thomas Macaulay, who believed that Oriental learning was completely inferior to European learning, and Western learning through the medium of English will be the best option in India if we wish to create the administrative assistants or the clerks to help the Britishers carrying out with the administrative work. So it was the Charter Act of 1813 with which a little beginning was made, and according to this act, a sum of rupees 1 lakh was to be spent annually on spreading education. But what should be the nature? Modern Western studies or traditional Indian learning, or what should be the medium of instruction? Whether it will be English or the vernacular languages, that is the Sanskrit and Persian, would be used. It was a matter of conflict and which was still unresolved. So these issues were resolved in 1835 when English Education Act was passed. And according to this act, it was decided that the money will to be allotted for education would be spent on promoting Western education through English as a medium. Thus the government stopped supporting Oriental institutions. Later on, the English East India Company, it sent an educational dispatch to India in 1854, which came to be known as the Woods Dispatch. The value of Western learning was outlined with many benefits in this dispatch, some of which were: the Western learning would enable Indians to realize the advantages of an expanding trade and commerce. The Western learning would expose Indians to the Western way of life and create in India a demand for British goods. And this Western learning will develop Indians as a skilled person, which was required for administration and which would ensure a continuous supply of people to work at lower levels of the government. And ultimately it will save the company's money, which they have to spend lavishly on employing the Englishmen who would have to be paid higher salaries for working in India. And since these people would be dependent on the British for their job, they would be loyal to the British and they would not want British rule to continue, and they will continue with the British rule. They will not want the British rule to discontinue. The scheme of education was a comprehensive scheme, and how it was a promising and promoting scheme. It was declared with the provisions made in the Wood's Dispatch, some of which were: it made a provision for spreading education from primary up to the university level. The colleges, schools and universities were to be set up, and in 1857 universities were set up in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras presidencies. The medium of instruction would be vernaculars at the primary level, but at higher levels it would be English. Also, the education departments were to be set up in all the provinces. They were to supervise education and provide financial aid to the educational institutions in their own provinces. And the teacher recruitment and training institutions were to be set up all over the country. So that's all we have in this video. In the next videos, we will see the reformers and educations and what were the flaws or the drawbacks of the British education system. That's all from our side. Thank you and have a nice day.